A remote island in Solomon Islands has sustained serious damage after it was hit by Cyclone Lola at its highest strength as a Category 5 system. Solomon Islands National Disaster Management has issued a situation report confirming Tikopia has been significantly impacted. As of Friday local time, more than 100 homes were reported to have been destroyed and 4 people, including a child, had been injured. Mary Alalo, a Tikopian community member who is based in Suva, told Lydia Lewis families are homeless, in need of food, clean water, clothes and urgent emergency relief supplies.
In terms of the unconfirmed reports I've had, so these are from HSF to communication from the islands to some of our people in Honiara. So they said there were 100 houses that were destroyed and 4 people were injured, and one of them is a child. And people without shelter right now and are really in need of food and water. And so our Tikopian community in Honiara, they are organizing an agent meeting to meet and discuss how to raise funds and contribute to really raise up emergency supplies to help our people in the island of Tikopia. So just to give you some brief background about Tikopia, there are sort of 2 districts. One is called Rofaya and the other is Ravenga. So the reports in terms of the 100 houses that were destroyed is mainly from the district of Rofaya. There are still no reports from the other district, Ravenga, mainly because of lack of communication. I think there's only one HF radio that is operational on the island. And there's also another of our, I would say, Polynesian outliers. It's called Anuta, and currently, we haven't had any reports from Anuta Island. It's also one of those very remote communities that's often very difficult to get information because of its isolation and lack of communication facilities. And the other report that came back was that there was a communications tower installed by Solomon Islands Telecom, and that was also damaged during the cyclone.
And how remote is Tikopia?
So if you say you take a ship from Honiara, our capital, to Tikopia, and with all the different stops in the islands, it takes about almost 2 weeks to get there, because it's 3 days journey from the capital to our provincial capital, Lata, and then there would be loading of cargoes and all those, and several stops in some of the islands. And once it reaches Tikopia, it's almost 2 weeks. Just to give you an example of how remote it is, so there hasn't been a boat to the islands, I think, for almost 3 months now. The last boat that went there was a ship that was chartered by the Solomon Islands Electoral Office, I think to do registration for the national general elections, but because it was purposely hired to go and deliver, not deliver, but to do the registration there. So there were no cargoes allowed on board. So if say I'm talking about a cargo boat to deliver cargoes to the island, I think the last cargo boat was about maybe 6 to 7 months ago. So the people had really depended a lot on our traditional foods and gardens. And I just spoke with my uncle. So my uncle is a person who really is committed to serving our people through providing transportation despite the remoteness of the island. So he takes a lot of risk traveling to between one of the closest island to Tikopia called Vanikoro. And just 2 days before the cyclone hit Tikopia, he was actually in Tikopia transporting a church team to the island and also running examination papers for the Solomon Islands Form 3 national exams. So he was there for 4 days to just deliver those exam papers, and then he left Vanikoro and arrived in Tikopia, spent 4 days and left Tikopia, and when he arrived in Vanikoro 2 days after the cyclone hit. And it took him 12 hours by 55 horsepower engine to travel from Vanikoro to Tikopia. If we add in the number of hours he came to the provincial capital, that would be around between 19 to 20 hours by outboard motorboat. So he really takes a lot of risk traveling between Tikopia and the other islands just to deliver some essential services like national examination papers. And he told me that next week he would probably transport a health team to go to the islands. But again, it depends on the weather.
So who has been alerted as to these initial reports, and how long will it take then to get aid to the impacted islands?
I understand the Solomon Islands National Disaster Management Office has been alerted, and I think they've produced a situational report about the situation. In terms of the emergency relief supplies, I'm not really up to date with the plans. If I can just use my experience working in the Solomon Islands, usually it takes maybe between 1 week to 2 weeks to deploy an emergency assessment team to the islands. That depends again on the weather. I understand from my uncle who went to Tikopia by a 55 horsepower engine that the Solomon Islands patrol boat was actually on Vanikoro Island and was supposed to go to Tikopia, but then I think because of the bad weather before Cyclone Lola struck, so it wasn't able to go as well to Tikopia. So from Vanikoro, then it turned back to Lata and then to Honiara. So I guess it depends very much on the funds that are available and also the weather conditions.
And how severely injured are those, and how will they get treated? Is there a doctor on the island?
In terms of how injured they are, I didn't really get that information from my uncle who reported on those who were injured. With the medical treatment, there's a clinic on the island, and I think there's a nurse. In terms of medication, I'm not really sure if the clinic has medicine or other essentials there, because there's been drug shortages in a lot of the clinics, even the national hospitals and provincial hospitals around the country. So when that happens, remote rural communities are even worse off. I'm really praying that they are recovering using traditional medicine and other care from the community.
You can read more on Cyclone Lola on our website, rnzi.com.